Chapter 9. Now when these things were done, the princes drew near unto me, saying, The people of Israel, and the priests and the Levites, have not separated themselves from the peoples of the lands, doing according to their abominations, even of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzi, the Jebusi, the Ammoni, the Moabi, the Egyptians, and the Amorri. For they have taken of their daughters for themselves and for their sons, so that the holy seed have mingled themselves with the peoples of the lands. Yes, the hand of the princes and the rulers hath been first in this faithlessness. And when I heard this thing, I rent my garment and my mantle, and plucked off the hair of my head, and of my beard, and sat down appalled. Then were assembled unto me every one that trembled at the words of the God of Israel, because of the faithlessness of them of the captivity. And I sat appalled unto the evening offering. And at the evening offering I arose up from my fasting, even with my garment and my mantle rent, and I fell upon my knees, and spread out my hands unto the Lord my God. And I said, O my God, I am ashamed and blush to lift up my face to you, my God, for our iniquities are increased over our head, and our guiltiness is grown up unto the heavens. Since the days of our fathers we have been exceeding guilty unto this day, and for our iniquities have we, our kings, and our priests, been delivered into the hand of the kings of the lands, to the sword, to captivity, and to spoiling, and to confusion of face, as it is this day. And now for a little moment grace hath been shown from the Lord our God, to leave us a remnant to escape, and to give us a knell in his holy place, that our God may lighten our eyes, and give us a little reviving in our bondage. For we are bondmen, yet our God hath not forsaken us in our bondage, but hath extended mercy unto us in the sight of the kings of Persia, to give us a reviving, to set up the house of our God, and to repair the ruins thereof, and to give us a fence in Judah and in Jerusalem. And now, O our God, what shall we say after this? For we have forsaken your commandments, which you have commanded by your servants the prophets, saying, The land unto which you go to possess it, it is an unclean land, through the uncleanliness of the peoples of the lands, through their abominations, wherewith they have filled it from one end to another with their filthiness. Now therefore give not your daughters unto their sons, neither take their daughters unto your sons, nor seek their peace or their prosperity forever, that you may be strong, and eat the good of the land, and leave it for an inheritance to your children forever. And after all that is come upon us for our evil deeds, and for our great guilt, seeing that you, our God, hath punished us less than our iniquities deserve, and have given us such a remnant, shall we again break your commandments, and make marriages with the peoples that do these abominations? Wouldst not you be angry with us still? Would you not be angry with us till you have consumed us, so that there should be no remnant, nor any to escape? O Lord, the God of Israel, you art righteous, for we are left a remnant that is escaped, as it is this day. Behold, we are before you in our guiltiness, for none can stand before you because of this. All right, let's go back up to verse 1. And we will find after these things, or bringing to mind yesterday, the last chapter, we were the heads of all the fathers' houses. By their genealogy we received, these would be those that returned with Ezra, the second captivity coming out of Persia. Persia was that place of splendor. We'll find these were those that come with Ezra. Ezra is the supported, or thus one of support. And we'll find out they took a little break there by the river, Ahava, and there he give over to the priest. He had a little search done, found some Levites, and they would take charge of these vessels and these things that would be brought to the house of God as an offering to God. And they got there. They made their journey. They finally arrived. And we'll find out it was on the fourth day that they did deliver these things to the priests there at the temple. These were those ones that was already there. And the weight was given. It was written at that time, and this would be that psalm or that which was given even of the time. And they also would deliver these commissions unto the king's satraps, these things that they were to be given unto the governors. And we'll find out everything was going good. Ezra had just got there. He was the priest. He was the son of Aaron. So that's where we're picking it up. And it would be after these things had come to pass, when Ezra had arrived in Jerusalem. Verse 1, Now when these things were done, the princes drew near unto me, saying, The people of Israel, and the priests, and the Levites, have not separated themselves from the peoples of the lands, doing according to their abominations, even of the Canaanite, the Hittite, the Perizzite, the Jebusite, the Ammonite, the Moabite, the Egyptians, and the Amorite. And these would be, they was taken in marriage. They had not separated themselves out from these of the land. We'll find out the commandment when they first came in to possess the land that God had sent them in possess. And this would be during the time of Joshua, when they would come into the land. Moses would stop his journey on one side of the river, and they would continue to the other. And this would be that period of time, and this is documented. This what we're going to find out. Verse 2. For they have taken the daughters for themselves and for their sons, so that the holy seed have mingled themselves with the people of the lands. Yes, the hand of the princes and the rulers have been first in this faithlessness. For they have taken the daughters for themselves of their sons, and these of their sons, these would be the ones. We could find this in Deuteronomy. It's documented in Deuteronomy. These ones that God commanded, you shall not take their daughters, and we'll find out most of these here mentioned are those, but there are a few here that Lord didn't restrict. These would be the other nations, that they would slay the males, but not the women and the children. They would keep them alive. That would be in Deuteronomy as well, chapter 20, I believe. These are the Canaanite. The Canaanite are the lowlands. They are the one. That's what Canaan means, the lowlands, and these are those of the lowlands. And the lowlands, I always refer to it as that place of flesh. The Hittite, and the Hittite are those of terror. The Perizzite, and the Hittite is a plural for Heth, and Heth was the descendant of Noah, and Heth means terror. The Hittite, those of terror. Perizzite, the Perizzite are the heads of the village, and the village is any city, any place that is made a place of protection. The rulers of this place of protection, the Jebusite. The Jebusite are those of threshing, those that thresh. These are those of Jebus, and we remember the city of Jebus. It is also referred to as Jerusalem. The Ammonite means is the nations, and this would be a plural of that, meaning inclusive of all the nations, and those of all the nations, the Moabite. These would be those of her father, and Moab, and these would be those of Moab. Moab means from her father, those of her father. The Amorite. The Amorite were the sayers, and that would be the speakers, or these ones who would speak, the ones who had set themselves up there to speak. These would be the daughters that we were talking about. These would be the sons. Now, the Ammonite, Moabite, and the Egyptians wouldn't have been mentioned as ones who you were not allowed to take their daughters. But nonetheless, these daughters of these foreign nations God warned against, because what it is They are the understandings that come forth from their mother, and these would be that reflection of their father. But unfortunately, they take to themselves these idols, and they worship these images which God had given for them to do as an example, and they do not serve God, and this would cause your sons to go astray. 3. And when I heard this thing, I rent my garment and my mantle, and plucked off the hair of my head and my beard, and sat down appalled. So Ezra, he hears this thing, this that they had given to these daughters, and was part of the reason that the pollution of the land, which God warned about in the beginning. Make an example. These were referred to as thorns and thorn bushes. They would become a thorn in your side of these understandings. Their understandings is what becomes a thorn in your side. Not an individual is just someone who is a victim of their understandings, or a blessing of their understanding. Whatever their understanding may be, God said the law would be your understanding and your knowledge and your wisdom. 4. Then were assembled unto me every one that trembled at the words of the God of Israel, because of the faithlessness of them of the captivity. And I sat appalled until the evening offering. Were assembled every one, all these that trembled at the words of every one that had fear of these things that God had written. That was the law of Israel, and that's all the nations, referring to all those ones that was the remnant of Israel that had gathered unto Judah, these ones that had come back from the captivity. 5. And at the evening offering I rose up from my fasting, even with my garment and my mantle rent, and I fell upon my knees and spread out my hands unto the Lord my God. And at the evening offering, we'll find out this would be the time at the evening when the sun goes down to make atonement for all that was done. We see that God holds these things that were not made known, these sins even that were not made known. We'll find out that this garment, he rent his garment, his mantle, his outer garment. For this was a form of humility, and this was that covering that he has is ripped, it's rent, his understanding's taken away from him. 6. And I said, O my God, I am ashamed and blush to lift up my face to you, my God, for our iniquities are increased over our head, and our guiltiness is grown up unto the heavens. And this that he was ashamed, I am ashamed, I am bush, and that means confounded. I'm confounded. I am confused. Why? Well, they had just come out of a great punishment, and God was bringing them back into Jerusalem, and this sin, they was already in their iniquities, taking these daughters of the land once again. See this sin, taking these understandings of the people, and blush to lift up my face to you, my God. This word blush, this kalam, I am ashamed to lift up my face, to make known, make plain these things, because iniquities are increased over our head. These iniquities, these sins, and we're going to find out. And what these sins are these understandings, these ignorances that men practice, these sins that they was doing when the children of Israel come into the land. 7. Since the days of our fathers, we have been exceedingly guilty unto this day, and for our iniquities have we, our kings, our priests, been delivered into the hand of the kings of the lands, to the sword, to the captivity, and to the spoiling, to the confusion of the face, as it is this day. And since these days, these understandings, all these understandings of our fathers, they didn't listen to God. They didn't obey the law of God. They didn't adhere to or observe to the ordinances and the statutes that God gave. See, these statutes that God gave in the beginning. That's why the king, the priest, all the people, everybody in the land had been delivered right to the sword. That was to the word that God gave in the beginning. They was taken in captivity. That was not only captivity of flesh. They was taken in captivity, this captivity of understanding, this confusion of face, these things that was made plain when they kept the law of God. This and the spoiling, and that's why the enemy is in the camp. That's how the enemy gets in the camp. 8, and now, for a little moment, grace has been shown from the Lord our God to leave us a remnant to escape, to give us a nail in his holy place, that our God may lighten our eyes and give us a little reviving in our bondage. And now, this little moment, this little moment in time, just a moment of grace, hath been shown from the Lord our God, and we'll find this is a great example. God's always merciful, graceful, if you will turn and return. And we'll find out this remnant that he had allowed to escape, that he brought out, the escaped, this one who had escaped, and give us a nail. That's a nail is something affixed. It's something that affixes, establishes this peg in his holy place, that our God may lighten our eyes, give us some understanding. They ain't going to shine a flashlight in your eyes. It's to give you some understanding, to give us a little reviving in our bondage, a little hope. 9, for we are bondmen, yet our God hath not forsaken us in our bondage, but hath extended mercy unto us in the sight of the kings of Persia, to give us a reviving, to set up the house of our God, and to repair the ruins thereof, and to give us a fence in Judah and in Jerusalem. For we are bondmen one way or another, yet our God hath not forsaken us in our bondage, but hath extended mercy unto us in the sight of the kings of Persia, right in front of all these kings of splendor, to give us a reviving, some hope, to set up the house of our God, to repair the ruins thereof, because it's God done all that. It's God's work. That's the work of God. That's how God works. It's to give us a fence in Judah, that place of praisings in Jerusalem, that city of peaceful teachings, and now, 10, our God. And now, O our God, what shall we say after this? For we have forsaken your commandments. What shall we say? We have forsaken your commandments. That sounds like repentance to me. To repent, to realize you've sinned. Sin is the commandments of God. See, before the law, there was no sin. The law defined it. It defined it. It outlined it. It set the borders thereof. It set the limit. And the waters can't prevail against it. Understanding can't prevail against the law of God. Knowledge, all your wisdom, it just can't come against it. It's like the limit of the sea. See, God sets the borders of it. 11, which you have commanded by the servants your prophets, saying, the land which you go to possess, it is an unclean land, through the uncleanliness of the peoples of the lands, through their abominations, wherewith they have filled from one end to another with their filthiness. Against these commandments which you have commanded, who were they? They were the sons of Noah. They knew the law. They had the law. They broke the covenant which God gave them. And we'll find out when Joshua went in there, their land was full of kings. They done took and made themselves kings. Chose somebody else to rule, and that's the same example he made with Israel. See, and then when God was punishing them, all the nations of the earth laughed. And it's not nothing funny about it. When God's teaching his students, there's nothing funny about one of them being punished. See, because we are all students of God. 12. Now therefore give not your daughters unto their sons, neither take their daughters unto your sons, nor seek their peace or their prosperity forever, that you may be strong and eat the good of the land, and leave it for inheritance to your children forever. Don't give your daughters unto their sons. Don't give your understandings over to those that go forth from them. See why? Because they'll pollute it. They'll pollute it. That's what they do. They were twisters of understandings then, making themselves idols and images, imputing these things that belong to God right into them. Don't take their daughters unto your sons. Why? Well, they'll cause your sons to go astray. Go worship these idols which their daddies do, their fathers do, that which their father does. That was the lesson in the beginning. That was the lesson in the beginning. It was all about understanding, see? All about knowledge. Don't seek their prosperity. Don't seek their gain, their progress, their asher. Forever. That you may be strong. See, that you may be able to stand. Because their understandings won't prevail against the law of God. That you may eat the good of the land, and leave it for an inheritance to your children forever. That you may partake of that which God gave, this goodness, the blessings of it. See, that's that land, all the understanding God gave. Leave it. He said, teach it to your children. Leave it to your children forever. 13. And after all that is come upon us for our evil deeds and for our great guilt, seeing that our God hath punished us less than our iniquities deserve, and hath given us such a remnant. God had this remnant, these ones that's still there, that God's always drawing out a remnant, always pulling out a remnant, constantly dividing out. The law does it automatically. God has surely been merciful. God has been greatly merciful. And the law was the mercy even in the beginning. 14. Shall we again break your commandments? Take marriages with the peoples that do these abominations? Wouldst not you be angry with us till you have consumed us, so that there should be no remnant, nor any to escape? So that the dry would be swept away with the water. Shall we break your commandments? Shall we throw the law of God aside for what men teach? God gave you understanding in the beginning. God set it in your heart. He put it already in your understandings. If you seek the Lord, you will find him. If you look for the understanding of God, you shall get it. If you do the commandments, if you search it out, you'll get the understanding. There's no one above you, no one between you and God. God put it in your heart in the beginning. He didn't do it for no reason. Law's a thing that's just known automatically. Would you break these commandments? Go against the understanding God gave you? Till he consumes every generation off the earth? 15. O Lord, the God of Israel, you are righteous. For we have left a remnant that is escaped as it is this day. Behold, we are before you in our guiltiness, for none can stand before you because of us. God is righteous. God is just. The law is the law. Just because everybody transgresses in no way can justify their acts. Because God is just. God is righteous. He set the limitations, and it was for a reason even in the beginning. And this remnant that is left, this remnant that has escaped, we find even as this day. Even at this day, even in these understandings, there's just a remnant that has escaped in every generation. Behold, we are before you in our guiltiness, our breakings of the law, our trespasses, our transgressions. For none can stand before you because of this. None can stand before God. We'll find out that these understandings, pour them out on the ground. Pour them out before the Lord. Take unto you the law. Let's go to chapter 10. Turn and return.